Hi everyone. In this project we will build a file sharing app with Next.js which will utilize Supabase Authentication, Database and Storage. Let me give you a demo. This is our sign up page and same for login page. And if I go to home page, so from this home page user will be able to upload file. The file will go to Supabase Storage and its link will go to Supabase Database. And here we are rendering content from database. User will be able to delete and update his own file, and if we click on any file's title it will take us to the specific file page, and this download file will download the file on your system. So the way it works, the user can share this URL to anyone, and when the person goes to this URL he will be able to download the file. This will be a protected page, but this will be accessible to anyone. And we will dynamically render these links based on user authentication state. So let me show you the basic code. So this is what I have done so far. That's sign up page. This is the server component, and we are rendering auth form here, and same auth form is being used in login. So this is auth form. Right now we have only 3 fields and there is no state involved for now: username, email and password. And this is login. Its default value is true, so from sign up page, as you can see. So when it's false, then it will be a sign up form, this auth form, otherwise it will be login form. And this single file page, it's a page based on file ID, so it's just simply file title and the download URL. And if we go to home page, for now we are rendering this static data, passing this data to content file, which is this one. And since this data is an array, we are running a map method on this data and rendering the file details here. And here is the navigation, which has simply 2 links and a logout button. So that's what we are going to build. Though it looks very simple, but it involves authentication, database and storage. So go to supabase.com. So here you need to log in or sign up, and if you already have an account and you already have created organization, then just click new project to create a project. Otherwise click new organization and then create project. So from new project we need to select organization, provide project name, and here password, and save and store this password securely, and then provide region and click create new project. You can also go to this page from project settings and then API. We will need this public key and URL. So let's set up our tables. Actually in first authentication, and here from providers, make sure email is enabled, and I will disable this confirm email so that upon sign up user is already confirmed. Otherwise then this confirm email is checked, then user will first receive email and he will have to confirm his account. So click save, and from table editor I will create new table for users. For now, let's disable this row level security. We will come back to this later. Enable real time, and here for ID field select UUID. And what else? Let's add name, which will be of type text. Add another column, email, type text, and then click save. Alright, so now let's also add another table for files. So I'll call it doc. For now, disable this row level security. So file will have title. First of all, let's change it to UUID, and then title, type text, and next file path. Again type text and file URL, also type text, and these two will come from storage. And let's also add user ID as relation, so I'll call it UID. It will be of type UUID, and since it's a relation, let's make it a foreign key. So schema public, and here select the table to reference to users, and here in docs we need to specify the field, which is this one, UID, and since we are linking it to user table, we need to provide which ID we want to link. So in user table it will be ID field. Click save. Again save. Now it's creating the table docs. So it's done. Now let's go to storage. Here we will create a new bucket. I will call it files, and make it public bucket. Alright, it's also done. So here we have to install a package. In fact, let's check document. We will use server-side authentication. So we need to install this Supabase/SSR package. Actually, let's install both. And in .env.local file we need to provide URL and anon key. So let's copy this, and at the root level of project we will create .env.local, and we will get the keys from project settings, API. Here is the URL, and anon key. So we need to create two files, client and server, and we will for client file we will import this create browser client from Supabase/SSR, and in server file we will import create server client from Supabase SSR. So let's create these two files. Here in app utils slash client.js and server.js. It's not TypeScript, so let's remove this exclamation mark. And for server, no, actually it's server file. And here is a client file. So for client side code, we will work with this create browser client, and for server side, this create server client. On server side, we are setting some cookies, retrieving the cookies and setting it. And these cookies will only be available on server side code, not from client side. They also have this middleware which will run on every page reload, every request, to check the authentication state, but we will not be using this one because only this page will be protected, not this one. So as for setup, I think it's all done. Next we will start working with sign up logic. So now we will work on sign up process. So let's go to auth form, and here first of all let's import use state from React, and then const val set val. It will be name, initially it will be empty string, email, and password. And now handle change function to capture key press, set val existing values, and then we will pick by name attribute. So the way this target name works is something like this. It will target for this field, it will target this name field, which is this, and it will grab its value, and here it will target this email, and here password. So their value will be val dot name, and on change will be handle change. And here is a typo, it's val. So for this it will be val dot and next password. Next we will have handle submit function, which we will call on form submission. It will be an asynchronous function. We will prevent the default behavior of form submission, e.prevent default, and we will call it here on form tag on submit handle submit. Now we can write Supabase queries here in this file, but I will keep it separate. So in app I will create endpoint directory, and here auth.js. Here we will import create client, which we have here in client file, this one. Import create client from utils client, and then we will create it instance const supabase equals to create client. Export const sign up API. It will accept data from auth form, and here await supabase dot auth dot sign up. It will take email, which comes from well.email, and password well.password. Now this returns a response, that's why we are awaiting it. And once we have successfully authenticated, we will store the record in database as well. So here we will check if not res.error. As you can see, it returns data and error, so we will check for error. So if there is no error, then we will add a record in database. Await Supabase, and this time we will use from to mention the table, which is users in this case. And on this user table we will use insert method, and we need to pass values. So for ID we will link this record to this authentication result. So here res.data.user, and it has ID. And next we will also store name, which comes from well, and then email well.email. Let's store it in a variable. In fact, it will also return data and error, so it will return error if there is any. So this is the error we will be returning to our component. Return error, not here within this if block. And don't forget to export this sign up API. And now in auth form, since this handle submit will be used for both login and sign up, so we will check for this is login. So if is login, then we will do something else sign up. So await sign up API, which is imported from endpoint/auth, and it takes well this one. And we are returning error, so let's store it in error. And if not error, then we will redirect user to home page. So let's import use router from next/navigation and store it in router. And here if not error, then router.push/. Now let's give it a try. So here sign up, password is not defined. Okay, I need to add its value in initially empty string. sign up, redirected to home page. And if we check our authentication, there is the user we just created, and table editor, users, this is the record, ID, name, email. This ID will match to this one because we have linked it here, res.data user ID. So right now we are signed up. So let's work on dynamically switching these. So here in navigation, we will track auth state change. So from our Supabase client file, we will import create client, and we also need use effect here. Let's create this create client instance. Const Supabase equals to create client, and within use effect Supabase dot auth dot on auth state change, which will give us event and session. Let's also import use state here. User set user, and here we will update this set user. If session has user, so if session has user, then set user will have session.user, otherwise false. That's what this symbol is doing. If condition is true, then it will update set user with this value, otherwise this one. And here we will check if user, then we will show this logout button. Otherwise login and sign up. So let's give it a try. You are using import, yes, and we are using use effect, so we have to make this component use client. Now we are already authenticated, so here is our logout button. Refresh, initially false, so we saw login and sign up for a split of second and then log out. So now let's work on this logout functionality. Export const logout API async await Supabase dot auth dot sign out. And here let's create a function handle logout. Call logout API function and then redirect user back to login screen. So here use router from next/navigation store it in router variable, router dot replace slash login, and we will call this function on button logout, and we are back to login. So now let's work on this login. Let me copy this. It will be login API, and it will use Supabase auth dot sign in with password. It will take email and password, and now we don't need this. Actually, we just need this error, so return res dot error. And here in auth form, within this if is login block, await login API imported from endpoints slash auth, and it will take val, and the same approach. Login, logout. So our authentication is done here. And in fact, why not make this route protected? So this is here. Now it's our server component, so we will import create client from server file. So let's do that. Create client, and it will be util slash server. Mark it asynchronous and await. In fact, let's create first of all its instance. Supabase equals to create client, and and the create client from server file returns promise, so we have to await it. And this instance, it doesn't return promise, that's why we have not added await. But server side, we have to add it. And now here we will get the user. So Supabase dot auth dot get user. So here we will check for the session. If a user is logged in, then we will allow him to visit this home URL. Otherwise we will redirect to login screen. So if not res dot wait a minute, yes, this returns promise, so await res dot data dot user, then redirect, and this redirect will come from next slash navigation slash login. If user is not login, then he will be redirected to login, otherwise we will proceed him for to home screen. So let's save this file, and I am already redirected to login. Let's try again home screen, redirected to login, and when we are logged in, yep, we are able to visit home page. So our authentication is done. Next we will work on uploading the files to storage, and will link it to database. So now we will work on file upload. So here let's create a function and we'll submit, which will be an asynchronous function, and we will call it here on button click, and we'll submit. Now I will use this endpoint file to create file for docs. We need create client and then Supabase instance. So first of all we will have to upload file to Supabase storage, and then we will grab the file path and URL, and we will store file path URL along with title in database in this docs table. So let's work on uploading the file first. Upload file async. Let me create a reference here. Bucket equals to Supabase dot storage dot from, and here we will have to pass bucket name. What did I call? Storage. I called it files. So here files. Now this bucket dot, and here we have upload method. It takes path and file body. Now this path is just file name and actual file itself. So file name must be unique. For example, if I am uploading abc.doc and it's uploaded, and if I again try to upload abc.doc, it will override the existing one, so it must be unique. So feel free to use UUID or something to generate random characters. I will use date.now. So const file name equals to date.now, and here I will separate it by hyphen and then file name itself. So we will receive file from parameter file dot name. This will generate unique name because of this date.now, and then we will upload it. For first argument we will pass file name, and for second argument file itself, and it's an asynchronous operation, so we have to await. Let's store it in file path. We also need public URL to view the file. So const file URL equals to bucket dot get public URL, and it takes path which comes from this file path. File path dot data and then dot path, and from this function I will return these two values. So it will be file path, which will be file path dot data dot path, and file URL. What the hell is that? It will be file URL dot data dot public URL. And now we will add the document to database. Const add doc API, And here first of all we will call this upload file function here. We have to pass file, and we also need file for this add-doc API, and it will give us file path and file URL which we will store in database. Next, await Supabase dot from table name, this time it's docs table dot insert. We need title which we will get from upload form file. Well dot title, and then file URL, file path, and I think we also need UID. Yes, we also need UID. File URL, file path, UID, title. So let's also pass this from, or should I get it here? In fact, let's get it here. Await Supabase dot auth dot get user. UID, it will be res dot data dot user dot id. So this is the upload file function where we are uploading file. First parameter is file name and second is actual file, and next we are getting public URL, and from this function we are returning this file path data path and file path data dot public URL, because we need to pass these two values to our docs table. Let's save it, in fact export it. You don't have to export this upload file because we will only use this in this file, but it will be called from upload form. So here, and since this upload form will also be used for edit form, so here I will check if edit, then we will do update. However, for now await add doc API, and we have to pass file and well. Actually file is part of well, so let's just pass well here, and here remove this. For file we will call well.file, well.title, well.file. That's what we are passing here. So here let's check if not title or not well.file, well.title, then return. Otherwise proceed to this add doc API, pass this well. Let's try it out. And if I click this, actually let's also reset the state. Title empty string and file empty string. So let's click submit. There is an error. File URL, file path data dot path, it's null. Okay, I get it. The issue is, as you know, we have disabled row level policies to this database, but for storage we don't have row level policies, so we have to create some sort of policy, otherwise it won't let us to upload anything. So here under from storage policies, under storage.object, new policy, and we will add insert for authenticated users. For insert authenticated users, and I will go for row level policies in details later on, but for now, for Supabase storage we have to allow policies at runtime, otherwise it won't let us to upload anything. So for insert operation we are targeting authenticated user role true. Click review. This is the policy. Enable insert for authenticated users on storage.objects. Click save. Here is the policy. Now let's retry. Submit, and it's reset. So let's check it. Here is the file. This is the date.now unique timestamp and then the file name. And if we go to table editor and then docs, it's refreshing. Here is the file, the title, file path, file URL, and the user who uploaded this file. We have successfully uploaded the file and insert the record in docs, and now we will work on displaying the files here. Now we will work on displaying data here. Let's see, here in endpoint doc, export const get docs API, and it will be await supabase.from docs table dot select asterisk to select all the fields. And now we have to filter it, because I would like to show all the documents updated by currently logged in users. So here is the filter dot equals. It takes UID because that's the field in docs table, and we need to pass this UID. And another thing, we also need to sort it. So dot order, we have a field created at, so make it ascending false so that we have list in descending order, which means latest entries first. And from here we will return res.data. And in home page file, which is a server component, after checking the whether there is a user or not, await get docs API, and we need to pass UID res data user dot ID. Let's call it data and comment this out. So here is our data from Supabase. So now it's being fetched on server side. So if I upload another entry, UI won't be updated instantly. So to do that, we can use Supabase real-time listeners. So here in content file, let's first add an state docs, set docs. So here we will use real-time listener in use effect, and we also need create client instance from utils client and use effect. So const data equals to Supabase dot channel. This channel is the real-time listener of Supabase. We need to provide a unique name to it. I will call it doc channel, and this channel has on method where we need to provide this Postgres changes. So, and by that we are telling it to look for any changes in database. Now we also need to pass filter. So first will be event. Now event can be insert, update, delete, or all of them. So we will use this real-time listener for insert, update, and delete. So I will use asterisk. Second will be schema, public, and finally table docs. So we are telling this real-time listener to look for any changes in docs table. Okay, after that it will return us payload. Let's log it, and we need to add dot subscribe to it to subscribe to real-time listeners. And once we are done, we need to perform cleanup. So return, which is necessary because it is real-time listener, data dot unsubscribe. So let's give it a try. So it's uploaded, and you can see there is a log, which is the payload. It has old field, new field. New field is the one which we just uploaded. You can see title, text, file URL, file path. Now we need to update this UI. So we know now we have to target this payload.new. We will say set docs, which is an array, payload.new, and then we will spread out existing values which comes from this docs itself. Let's refresh the page, and if I add another one, submit, there we go. There we have our new entry, and it's in descending order, and we can also confirm it from storage. Let's reload. We have 3 files, and in docs database, we have 3 records. So here what we did, we filtered out all the documents by user ID and ordered in descending order. And in our real-time listeners, we are looking for any change in table docs, and when we got payload, we are updating our state in this set docs. So next we will work on deleting this record. Now let's work on deleting the document. When we delete it, we also need policy in storage, otherwise it will not work, as we have seen earlier. So under storage.objects, first of all, enable read access to everyone, defaults to all public, yes, that's fine. And one more, delete. Let's use it for authenticated user and just add true here. Only authenticated user will be able to delete. So now here, export constant delete doc API. So first of all, we will delete file from storage and then the entry from database. So we have access to this bucket. We will call await bucket dot remove, and it takes array of strings. So in array we will pass the file path. We will take it from our in parameters, and it will be item dot file path, and this is coming from our database. Once it's done, we will delete the entry from database. Await Supabase dot from docs dot delete, and here we need to pass item ID. So ID doc ID will be item dot ID. You can also add another filter here, dot equals to, where UID equals to the currently logged in user's ID. You can take it from here, or yes, this one. It will give us an ID of login user. So if we logged in user is trying to delete his own record, then we will be able to do it. res.data.user.id. So here first deleting the file from storage itself uh, through its file path, and then deleting the record from database. Now in content, let's create handle delete function here. pass item to it, which will be individual document, and here we will call delete doc API. It needs item, and we will call this function upon clicking this delete icon. So on click, handle delete, pass the item here, and in this delete icon accept on click. This is what we will do upon click. So now we also need to update the UI. So as we know, in event we have access to insert, update or delete. So, and we have also checked that payload also returned event type. So let's do this for insert. If payload dot event type equals to insert, then do this one. Else if payload dot event type equals to delete, then we need to filter out the specific ID from this docs array. So here set docs. Now this priv will have all the existing documents, and here we will run priv.filter element.id not equals to payload.old. We have already seen payload has new and old. When we insert new data, it updates in new object, and when we delete data from Supabase, we will have the data in payload.old, and we are already logging it, so I will show you. So let's give it a try. So if I try to delete this one, wait, what happened here? Why it didn't work? Let's try it again. I will delete this test. Yep, it worked. I just had to refresh the page, and here is our payload. You see now new is empty and old has the ID, which is just deleted. So this is what we are checking here. el.id not equals to payload.old.id. If that's the case, then we will filter it out. So that's it for delete document. And and let's take a look at storage. We have only one item, and in docs table we have the one item. So next we will work on updating the record. Now we will work on updating the record, and here as you can see in use effect we are checking if edit which comes from here home content, initially it's null. So if it's edit, which means user have clicked this edit icon, then we are setting values of title and file. Actually let's skip this file part. We will see why. We are only setting the title. So let's go to endpoints, doc, export constant update doc API, and we will take value from upload form. So let's create an object that item equals to title. It will be value.title. So the pattern will be, first of all we will delete the existing file from storage, then we will upload a new file, and we will grab its file path and file URL, and finally we will update the record in database. So first of all, let's remove the existing file from storage, and here we will check whether user is trying to update the file or not. So if well.file, only then we will remove the file. Bucket.remove, and it will take the file path. So here while we are in edit form, so we have access to this edit, so we will also pass this to our update doc API. So here edit dot file path, await, then we will upload file, await upload file, and it needs file. So no, it's come from well.file, and it will give us file path and file URL. Now we will update this object. So item file path equals to file path, and item file URL equals to file underscore URL. Finally we will update the record in database, await Supabase dot from docs dot update, and we will pass this object item, and we need to specify which document we want to update. So dot equals id, and it will comes from edit dot id. And let's add another filter so that user is only able to update his own record. Dot equal uid uid, and let's grab it. Res dot data dot user dot id, and in upload form, here in this edit if block, await update doc API, it takes well, and it also need edit. And once we are done, let's reset the edit, set edit, and we have to accept it here, and from content let's pass this set edit to form as well. Set edit will be null. So here we can also check for well.title. so that title should not be empty. So let's give it a try. First of all, I will only update the title. Looks like it's updated. Let's refresh, and yes, it's updated. And one more thing, so to update the UI we will use this listener, else if payload.eventType equals to update. In that case, set docs existing items, and here we will run map method brief.mat item.id equals to payload.new.id. We will replace it with payload.new, otherwise we will keep the same item. So we are running a map method on this array, and what we are checking here, whether item ID matches the payload ID. If that is the case, we will replace the item with payload, otherwise we will leave the item as it is. So now let's try it again. Now UI is updated, and let's try to update the file as well. So in storage we have this test file here. Now let's try to pick another file. It's changed, and now if we take a look at bucket, refresh, and here we can see the file is changed. And here is the updated file path. Next we will work on getting the single item for this route. Now let's work on getting single document. Export const get doc API await supabase.from docs dot select, and here we will filter it by ID equals ID, and we will receive this ID in params, and this will return array of data, though it will be array of one item. To make it single, we will have another method dot single. And here in file ID page we will accept ID from params. Params return promise, so we have to await it and mark this function as asynchronous. Now here await get doc API, and we will pass the ID. Data dot title, and here href will be data dot file URL. So as you can see, title is updated, and here is the file URL. and you can see upon click we are able to download the file. So now our project is almost done, and we will now implement row level policies to secure our data. So here in Supabase, let's take this in docs table, and here enable RLS for this table. Now row level policies is enabled for this docs. Let's refresh, and you see now we are not able to see the data because policy is enabled but we have not defined any policy. So let's do that now. Add RLS policy. First of all, enable read access for all users, and I would like to keep it public because our individual file URL will be accessible by anyone. So it will be default to public. So just save this policy, and now if we refresh, there is our data. And let's add another policy for insert. So only authenticated user will be able to insert. Target role authenticated, and here with check for insert to authenticated with check true. So with this policy, only authenticated user will be able to add new entries in docs table. Save, and now let's create another policy for update. First of all, let's uncheck this use check expression, and here first of all only authenticated user should be able to perform this task, and I would like to restrict users to update their own document only. So for that we have auth.id. It's globally available if when you are authenticated, equals to. Now if you remember, we have UID field in our docs table, so that's what we will check, docs.uid. So here we are checking the currently logged in user is the one who owns this specific record with the docs.uid. And there is another, actually it will be auth.uid. Yes, it's saved. And one more policy for delete, auth.uid equals to docs.uid, and make sure the role is selected authenticated. So now what will happen, only authenticated user will be able to delete, as well as if currently logged in user owns this document, then he will be able to delete, otherwise no. And after doing that, we have access to read request. Let's try update. We have access to update request, and if I just delete it, we can delete it because we are authenticated. And if I create new one, so all the functionalities are working as expected, and now we have row level policies implemented. So that's the end of this small project, where we have implemented Supabase authentication, database and storage, as well as we have implemented the row level policies. I hope you liked this series. Thanks.